AskReddit Bike Dog 417. What are the best songs that tell a story? Big Iron by Marty Robbins. I was going to say El Paso. The Way by Fastball. This is a true story. He saw the exact story in the newspaper and decided to write a song about it. The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, Gordon Lightfoot. Edit, R.I.P. Gordon. My late uncle helped load that ship many times. Messaby Range Railroad man. The news was like an earthquake on the Iron Range back then. He passed a few years ago. At the end of his burial ceremony, at a quiet moment, you could hear a far-off train horn suddenly. One long. Two short. Jim Croce's bad. Badly Roy Brown and You Don't Mess Around with Jim to name just two. An Operator. The Mariner's Revenge song by the Decemberists. https://yahoo.be/8_xschwytq. Basically the entire discography of the Decemberists, really. Pancho and Lefty. One of the greatest. God, Townes was a poet. I only really discovered him last year and he has quickly become my favorite artist. Living on the Road my friend. Was gonna keep you free and clean. And now you wear your skin like iron and your breath as hard as kerosene. So much is said in just those first few lines. It is a perfect story song. Pancho needs your prayers, it's true, but save a few for Lefty too. Kenny Rogers the Gambler. My vote went to Coward of the County. But the Gambler and Lucille come close. The Highwayman. One of the few country songs I can think of involving reincarnation and starships. Perfect, no notes. Piano Man. It gives a full and clear account of that one bar. There is an awful lot of harmonica in a song about a piano man. It Was a Good Day, Ice Cube. Just whacking up and down and gotta thank God. I dunno, but today seems kinda odd. Such a great story and the song had such a catchy, amazing sample from the Isley Brothers. https://www.youtube.com/watch?WRWTV by Pargo &6s dart. Cats in the Cradle by Harry Chapin. His song Taxi is an even better story song. Ho. This is not the greatest song in the world, this is just a tribute. https://yahoo.be/_lk4cx5xgiq. RR.D. Sugaguji Guji. Guffly Guji Goo. Guffly Goo, Gagoo Buddy. Ooh, Gagooby. Ooh Gagubby Gagubby. Flee Guji Goo. Aflaga Mama Lucifer. Dude, you just brought back so many great memories listening to this album. Stan Eminem. I have two friends who for over a decade will randomly blurt out, you know the song by Phil Collins and the Air of the Night. About that guy who could have saved that other guy from drowning, but didn't. Then Phil saw it all, then at a show he found him. The Devil Went Down to Georgia, Part 1 and 2. This was the song I came to find. Also, Johnny won because the devil just had a loud guitar and drum solo to drown out his crappy fiddle playing. Jolene. Joshua 2. Dolly Parton has a lot of good storytelling songs. Tangled Up and Blue by Bob Dylan. Hurricane is also great. Fast Car. Refused to stop scrolling until I found this. America Simon and Garfunkel. Quite a few from their discography, in fact. Edit, Grammar. The Boxer. Richard Corey. He was my brother. LOLA Lola. Lots of Springsteen, The River, Point Blank, Racing in the Street, Backstreets, The Rising, all of the Nebraska album, to name a few. Came to say The River. In terms of storytelling, I think a lot of the live albums do it best when he talks before each song. The version of The River on the live 1975 to 1985 gives me chills every time. Also, Lost in the Flood, Live at the Hammersmith Odeon, 1975. The Rime of the Ancient Mariner by Iron Maiden, taken from the poem of the same name by Coleridge. I was gonna go with The Flight of Icarus or The Trooper. Last Kiss original by Wayne Cochran and cover by Pearl Jam. Absolute best cover of Last Kiss was by J. Frank Wilson and Amp, The Cavaliers in 1964. Jeremy Pearl Jam. Alive. Release. Better Man. Black. Elderly woman behind the counter in a small town. If you like pina coladas. It's about a man who gets bored of his wife because of how dull their relationship has become, so one day when he sees an ad in the socials column, of his newspaper asking for someone who wants to get away with them from their dull life, he responds to it. They plan their escape and meet up, when he realizes it was his wife who made that ad all along. They both wanted to make their relationship more exciting and they shared common interests, but neither of them knew it. Many years after I first heard the song, it occurred to me that both of them are cheating bastards who deserve each other. Dance with the Devil Immortal Technique. You didn't say happy or tragic. This one is very graphic and will have you saying OMG by the end of it. Smoking weed and being introduced to Immortal Technique by the older kids is a typical coming of age for millennials. Historically by hotboxing in their car. Weird Al: The Saga Begins. Weird Al trapped in the drive-thru. How could you not mention Albuquerque? I'm partial to the Reba version of Fancy. LMAO: I'm glad so many people agree. Listen. May have been born just plain white trash, but Fancy Was My Name is one of my personal favorite bars of all time. Also The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia. Charles Daniels, The Devil Went Down to Georgia, https://www.youtube.com/watch?mark/vsh7bzf75bwampersand/chemi:_AB_topic. The Dead Milkman, Punk Rock Girl, https://www.youtube.com/watch?mark-K3J04SL4 AB:channel Timothy_PSP. David Bowie, Space Oddity, https://www.youtube.com/watch?mark-via4apxdo_AB_channel David Bowie. Peter Schilling, Major Tom, https://www.youtube.com/watch?mark-GKAJ2LRPUM_AB_channel Peter Schilling-topic A fanfics equal to Space Oddity. The Cure, Lullaby, https://www.youtube.com/watch?mark-VJXK-FGCG7C_AB_channel Thecure Vivo. The Vandals, Oh I to the World, https://www.youtube.com/watch?mark-VO4GEPIKM3W_AB_channel The Vandals-topic. Bob Dylan Hurricane. Copacabana by Barry Manilow. I always found it a little disturbing that it tells such a sad story to an incredibly bouncy tune. https://yahoo.be/m57gza2jccm. Alice's Restaurant is a gold standard. Official Thanksgiving song. The Gambler Kenny Rogers. I first heard the song in my grandma's caddy on her 8-track. I love the song, the story, and the memory. Almost Anything by Johnny Cash. A Boy Named Sue. Link https://yahoo.be/yj3tfptuhae closed bracket. The Boxer Simon and Garfunkel. Carolina drama The Raconteurs. Had to search to see if this had been mentioned. Right before COVID, I saw The Raconteurs at the Ryman in Nashville. End of the encore, they played Steady as She Goes. Song ends, the band starts coming to the front to wave goodnight. Then you see Jack and Brendan huddle up and talk. Sent the other band members back to their spots and added Carolina drama to the show. From the previous set lists, it looked like they usually ended with one or the other before that night, and at the end of the song, Jack steps away from the mic and does the last few lines unamplified with the crowd alone doing the very last line. Watching Brendan and Jack interact during the course of the show was fascinating. Harper Valley PTA. Hotel California by the Eagles is basically what turned into From Dusk Till Dawn emo. It's a bad Yelp review with a guitar solo. Nautical Disaster, Wheat Kings, 50 Mission Cap. 38 years old, by the Tragically Hip. Dire Straits Romeo and Juliet, Telegraph Road or Tunnel of Love. A lot of Knopfler's work is excellent in terms of storytelling. Hero of War by Rise Against. Story of My Life by Social Distortion. Scenes from an Italian Restaurant by Billy Joel. Hero of War is just a masterpiece emo. It captures anything why people are drawn into it, how the dissonance between the horrible experiences and the perception at home affects you, how war changes you and your ethical boundaries and makes you blind to humanity in some way, and after all that it goes back to the point of enlistment as if it was all foreshadowing if people say yes during enlistment. The pacing and change of tone with which it tells specific parts of this story and the musical elements supporting it, like the marching percussions in the background, just fits everything together. Don McLean American Pie. Grew up with this song. As a kid me and my siblings would belt by Miss American Pie. A decade or two later did I actually start paying attention to the lyrics. Ode to Billy Joe. And we still don't know what they threw off the Tallahatchie Bridge. El Paso Marty Robbins. Coward of the County. Metallica 1. Read the book this song was based on. I was completely enthralled while reading, and it's one of the few books that has really stuck with me. I'll never read it again. Absolutely horrifying. Johnny Got His Gun. Up the Junction Squeeze. Ode to Billy Joe by Bobby Gentry. Staggerly Cave. House of the Rising Sun, folk song. Johnny I Hardly Knew Ya, folk song. Undertaker, Peculiar Pritzelman. Sympathy for the Devil, Rolling Stones. Hal's Coming With Me, Poor Man's Poison. 16 Tons Tennessee Ernie Ford. Never heard of this song before it was played in the Amazon episode of South Park, but I loved it ever since. Such a catchy yet melancholy lament. Duckworth Kendrick Lamar. Fear is also a great story too.